Coming up now on Animal Outtakes, an evolutionary creature that's been around for millions of years.
They are one of the largest species of scorpion in the world.
And another 8-legged critter makes its way into my hands. And it's not as creepy as I thought. Plus, we head back to the Myakka Elephant Ranch to learn about all the differences between the Asian and the African elephants. This and a little lemur love straight ahead on Animal Outtakes. It is said that a tarantula is often a solitary creature, one that's evolved over millions of years. And despite the somewhat ominous appearance, some species may not be as dangerous as you think.
Perfect, just like that.
Alrighty. I understand that this little girl is called Rosie.
Yep, and this is Rosie, and Rosie is a Chilean Rose Haired Tarantula. These were one of the more common species of tarantula you would find in the pet trade, but they're actually being regulated finally. So the world has basically stepped in and said that we need to monitor the exportation of them, and they are now listed as CITES Appendix 2. What's really cool about these species is you can tell they're a very docile species of tarantula, and they do come from Chile. They are a New World species of tarantula, which, if people haven't heard the term before, it's a reference for New World versus Old World. So your New World will be South America, Central America, and North America, and a lot of your Old World will be Europe, Asia, Australia, and Africa.
Now she is as light as a feather.
She is extremely light.
But when she thinks that I'm going to drop her,
Yeah.
she has little crimpers on the end.
She does. They have little itty bitty hooks, and I'll try to maybe get us a picture if I can for you guys of that. And what's kind of crazy is they actually have like little suction pads for smooth surfaces, and they have little almost microscopic hooks on each foot to help them climb more coarse surfaces.
She's so cute.
Yeah. And that's the term that you don't hear often, is cute with
Cute with a
arachnids.
tarantula, yeah.
You know, you hear me say all the time, every animal has a purpose in the ecosystem, and tarantulas are no different. So one of the misconceptions people have with tarantulas is they think they're extremely venomous like spiders are, and generally no. Almost all species of tarantulas, their venom is equally as potent, and when I mean equally as potent, it's really kind of like a bee sting if they choose to bite you. But Miss Rosie here is a rose hair, and the family is Gramostala, and they're actually very, very, very docile. So what this species does, and instead of trying to bite you, they'll flick or kick what's called urticating hairs. So she'll take these back legs right here, she'll rub her little rump, and she'll kick the hairs up into the air. Now what the hairs do is they feel just like fiberglass. So if you're a big, mean, mammal trying to eat them or anything like that, she's gonna flick those hairs right into your mouth, so you're gonna get a mouthful of fiberglass instead of getting a mouthful of a spider. And another really cool, exciting thing about these guys we don't realize is their lifespan. So tarantulas are very long-lived for the most part, especially New World species. This girl right here can live up to 40 years of age. Now males are short-lived, and tarantulas, the females have a long lifespan, and males only live a short time in life. And when they have their final molt, they have to reproduce or they perish. So you'll have a male tarantula of this species lives 5 to 8 years at the most, but a female very easily can live 30 to 40 years.
Well, she's walking miles in my hands.
Yes. Yeah, she's getting her little steps in today, obviously.
Yeah,
8 legs. So.
And she's beautiful.
Yeah, they are, and that's the thing with tarantulas. Tarantulas are very unique and very beautiful. And once again, people have a misnomer that if they're venomous, they're bad. Or if they're a spider, they're bad. If they're snakes, they're bad. And Marsha, I don't know if you held a tarantula before, but you can see this tarantula is absolutely comfortable with you and at ease with you.
And I'm pretending to be very comfortable.
She is pretending to be a good arachnologist. Yes, that is correct. Yeah, so they're just a great, unique little species, and we're able to take her out and teach children about spiders and arachnids, and how important they really are to our ecosystem, especially when it comes to keeping out pest insects. Because if you think about it, arachnids are not pests; they don't have a negative impact on people. People don't have a negative impact on them. They get rid of a lot of our roaches, a lot of our nasty bugs in their environment that we don't want.
She's pooped.
Yep, she's done.
She did her walking for the day. And you know me, I can never seem to get enough of the formidable creatures we often find on our shoots. So now, let me introduce you to the emperor scorpion. So what we have here, I know, I recognize it. It's a scorpion.
It is a scorpion.
And I'm so glad that you're going to hold it.
And why is that, Marcia?
Well, because, you know, it kind of is up there with the snakes. Fear, trying to keep calm, but fear. So tell us about this guy.
Okay, so this is an emperor scorpion, and they are found from the continent of Africa. They are one of the largest, if not the largest species of scorpion in the world. They are also generally slower growing, so there are some conservation efforts with these guys now to kind of conserve their wild populations and to kind of mitigate the importation into the pet trade.
There's something on the end of that tail.
You're talking about the little venom pouch right here, the little stinger?
Yeah,
so that's a stinger. So when you're looking at a scorpion has two forms of defense or two forms of offense, depending how you look at it. So people think that, you know, the scorpions sting everything. They don't have to. So if you look right here, you guys can see the pinchers, and the pinchers are a way that they can immobilize prey or they can defend themselves. So there is kind of a general rule, which is not scientifically sound, that the larger the pincher, the less venomous the scorpion. The smaller the pincher, the more venomous the scorpion. This can play an effect with certain species like the deathstalker from Egypt. The deathstalker from Egypt, their pinchers are not even a third of this, and they are extremely venomous. But the emperors here, they're actually less venomous than a bee sting. When these guys hunt, they really more rely on their pinchers to be able to crush their prey to feed on, more than they rely on their stingers. And this species, really, the stinger is only for mostly defensive or to mobilize a larger prey item.
And what is their prey? I mean, how do they exist?
They mostly feed on other invertebrates, so these guys feed heavily on other insects and stuff like that. A large emperor scorpion that can be, you know, 5 inches will feed on reptiles, small little geckos, other scorpions, or even, you know, baby newborn snakes. It's just not the primary part of their diet. Primarily, they feed on other insects. So on these guys too, they are currently doing research on their venom as well to find medical purposes for their venom, and they are finding some positive results. The same thing with these guys. If you guys are out hiking, you're not going to find this species, but Florida does have some bark scorpions, and if you've been stung by one of those, it is not nice. They are far more venomous than this species. I've been stung by this species, and it's not even a bee sting. Whereas a bark scorpion, it feels like fire when it gets you. But you know, that's one of the more hard things to keep away from when you're out in the wild, because you know, you're not going to really see these guys. They're going to be under branches or on a bark. So you know, if you are picking up stuff and you're hiking, you know, use caution. You know, pick up the corner, lift it up slowly. If you have a tool, you know, use a tool. You know, scorpion stings are really more or less people step on them, or they're in your shoes, as you hear quite often. That's really the main concern with stings with these guys. And
so is there anti-venom for this?
So for this particular species, there is not anti-venom because the species is considered non-medically significant. Now the species like Lillies, which are the deathstalkers, they are working on anti-venoms for that species because those species do hospitalize and do kill people every year.
So we're walking. We've stepped on a leaf, but we didn't know they're underneath. Yeah. Now what?
I know where you're going with this one. So that one's kind of a tricky one. So like if you get bit by a Florida bark scorpion, there is not any venom. Theoretically, you're going to be absolutely fine. That I know of, I don't think there's ever been a fatality from our native scorpions. They're just not a venomous species really as far as that. So I would say, you know, if you have a physician, call your physician and say, hey, you know, Dr. Bob, I got stung by a scorpion. What should I do? And they'll probably say, take some antihistamines, put some lidocaine cream on it, and you should be fine. But as always, everybody's different case to case, and people will react in different manners.
Scorpions live on all continents except Antarctica, and they date back to more than 400 million years ago. Coming up next, we meet Axel, a lemur with lots of love.
I think something happened to my family. I'm scared and lonely. What's going to happen to me now?
Don't worry, Sonny. Our loving staff at Dante's Den will take care of all your pet needs for the rest of your life. A warm bed, toys, great food, walking, and swimming is all at your paw tips. And if you get sick, there is even a hospital and medical staff to help you get well. Dante's Den, continuing the love.
You love your dog, but is he hard to handle? Barking, biting, jumping, chewing, hard to walk? Is your dog aggressive? Have you tried everything and nothing worked? I'm Will Thomas. Dogs are my passion. I can help you with your dog. My methods are so unique, I only need one session in your home. To learn more, look at my website, willthomasdogwhisperer.com, or call me at 941-377-0243. I can help you fast.
These last few months have been challenging for everyone, especially me. I've walked many, many miles. I learned new tricks. I lost my afternoon nap time. I've stayed up many nights watching movie after movie after movie. I'm suffering from cabin fever. I'm in need of a renewed spirit.
Dante's Den is the perfect boarding solution for your dog, whether it's an overnight, short, or extended stay. Dante's offers the convenience, amenities, and overall luxury your pet is seeking. Spacious, air-conditioned dens have private patios, overlooking scenic pool and lakeside views, a sparkling pool with fountains to play in, surrounded by chaste loungers and a staff that will cater to their every wish. To make a boarding reservation for your pup, call us at 941-219-3730. We're here with Troy Lillie in our outdoor classroom, which is indoors today because it's raining outside. And we are keeping social distancing as much as we possibly can. But it's so hard because we have Axel with us, who is one of the most gorgeous lemurs I have ever met in my life.
He is.
He's so full of personality and spunk, just really spunk. So I have to ask you, how emotional is he?
He is a really emotional critter. So I can tell when he's mad, I can tell when he's happy. He does facial expressions, body movements. Okay, you're good. And he hasn't been out since he saw you last, so he's now 3 years old. This is a rough and black and white. It's a black and white and red ruff lemur hybrid. So he came to us from somebody down south. And you know, that's a touchy subject we'll get on another show with crossbreeding. They are the same species, they just have some different hairs and different things in places they live. However, this is Axel, and he lives with me and my family inside. He's one of the 4 lemurs that I have. And so we have big enclosures outside for him. You're not going to go over there. You're not going to go over there. And they troop up, and they're very familiar with us. And so strangers to them can be, it takes a little time to get used to.
We could be intimidating to him.
Yeah, or vice versa. Look at those big feet. He's way
But
back.
you know, I just love his coloring. Now look at those hands.
Yes. Can you see him?
It's like black gloves. And we have this gorgeous black tail, which we know is very, very impressive. And it really helps him move along. And he's just cuddly. And I just would love to cuddle you, but you have to stay there with
He
Daddy.
get a little grouchy. And these guys are very lovable critters. So these are companions who are like my kids to me. So every day's interaction. I was beginning to say they're wonderful animals, and you can see them through a bunch of different places in Florida. All of their enclosures are attached to my house, so everybody comes into bed in the master bedroom at night in their own lemur condos. Because we want them to have the best life possible. So when they get to go outside, they get to play outside. But here's the thing. People see enclosures and they get upset. We had the 4th of July recently. Where do you think they ran to?
To their home.
Right into
the
their enclosure. Exactly.
Yeah.
We let them play with us out by the pool and hang out, and they won't get near the water, but they will run around and play with us on the tree house and everything. They'll come. The minute that firework went off, they went to their so-called prison, which is their safety zone.
Absolutely.
It's about the size of this room.
And so how important is this for us humans to continue this breed? And how does it really fit into the ecosystem? Or is it just something we love?
Amazingly. These are prosimians, so they're an old world primate, which is amazing. They only come from Madagascar. And according to the way they started, it was two mouse lemurs that floated onto the island. And 200 years ago, the biggest lemur in existence finally was deceased and extinct, and it was the size of a gorilla. Now, the reason I like having them here is so people can actually see these, because how many people are going to get to go to Madagascar and learn about them? And I frankly love these animals, so call me selfish, but we have a lot of good things together, and it teaches a lot of people. He's a great ambassador animal. He wasn't kidnapped from the wild or taken. So to him, this is his life. If I threw him out in the trees, he'd probably get ate by an owl, wouldn't you? You wouldn't even know what it is. You wouldn't even know what it is. I know, I love you too.
Well, once again, Troy, you've brought us this perfectly wonderful creature. And we thank you for that.
Thank you for having us. You gonna say bye with your big hand?
When we come back, what's the big difference? Stay tuned.
All right, so when you look at Carol, you can see a lot of the big differences. So a lot smaller ears, total different backbone, total different skin.
And now it's time to get up close with some of our favorite elephants at the Myakka Elephant Ranch, where we learn the difference between the African and the Asian creatures. And we are reminded why this keystone species is so important to protect. Well, of course, this is an absolute treat to be up close to these magnificent creatures. And there's some varying differences between the three. Let's start with this gorgeous creature. We've got tusks. We've got big ears. What does that tell us?
Yeah, that's a good sign that it's an African elephant. So if you look at Lou's ears, she has very large ears, actually shaped like the continent of Africa. The Asian elephant, Indian elephant, has half the size ear, actually shaped like the country of India. So totally different ears. Also, you asked about the tusk. The African female does have large ivory. The Asian female has very small ivory. So you can only see it if she picks her trunk up, little pieces of ivory there. The males, the bulls, they have the dominant tusk, 2-3 times as thick. Some can be up to 14 feet long. So just huge ivory on the males.
Now, obviously, we know that the ivory is in and of itself endangered. No can touch, no can get from the average person. Are these in the wild, however, still hunted?
So unfortunately, the elephant population is in a big decline. In 1930, there were over 10 million elephants roaming Africa. Today, it's about 400,000 to 450,000 of the African elephants left. And for the Asian elephant, they're actually far more endangered. There's only about 40,000 of the Asian elephants left. The main reason for that is the poaching that's going on for the ivory. They're saying almost 100 a day are going down from that ivory poaching alone. Also, the human-elephant conflict is a big issue, especially for the Asian elephant. So this past year in Sri Lanka, they lost 360 elephants being killed by the natives, and the elephants actually killed 100 of the natives. So they're really battling it out over the land, over the resources, creating a major conflict there.
Now, these elephants came over in a very interesting way, didn't they? Coming into the United States. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so Lou did originate from Zimbabwe at 1.5 years old. She was transported by ship into Miami, and my parents actually picked her up there. The reason back then you could get an elephant, countries in Africa would measure rainfall, how much vegetation to maintain all the different herds of elephants, mainly on the big parks, big game reserves. And unfortunately, they take herds of elephants completely down. They left the babies as orphans back then, and that's what they would sell to Europe, South America, and the United States. So that's when all these Africans came into this country.
Now, one of the things that we have noticed throughout our entire visit with you is this is a massive, massive animal, but you are so gentle with them. There's no loud talking, there's no Yankee, there's no, well, thank you. She's just chewing away. And you're just so gentle with them, and they respond to this gentleness. Yeah, so is this innate in their...
Yeah, so I've known Lou my whole life. We kind of grew up together. So really, we just communicate. Playmate, right? Yeah. We understand each other. Yeah. Very great relationship between me and Lou.
Is there, well, here. Is there ever a time, I mean, they're very docile, extremely docile, at least to us today. Is there ever a time that they really could get agitated?
Oh yeah, for an elephant, anything they've never seen before, never heard before, they're so intelligent that can startle them. So really what they do is they pick their head up, they put their ears out, try to make themselves look bigger, and try to fend off anything that could be startling them. That is where the saying has come that they're afraid of mice. So they're really not afraid of them, they just don't know what they are, and they are startled by anything they've never seen before. In general, elephants are very docile, very family-oriented. That being said, there is certain people that they smell something about them they don't like, and what they do is they kind of just back away. This happened very rarely, maybe 2-3 people. Generally, they like everybody.
Now, I noticed that you speak of Lou as the matriarch, and as we all know, the elephant colony is really a matriarchal society. How did she get appointed?
So the way it works with elephants, they are all dominated by a matriarch. In the wild, could be up to 75 elephants in the family group, all controlled by the matriarch. The matriarch's usually an older female, very strong, very intelligent. She controls the whole family herd. Lou, when she was introduced to Carol and Patty, she automatically took that role. Not all elephants are really meant to have that role, just they're kind of born with it, kind of stays in the bloodline. So she's the leader. Yeah, she took over right away, and luckily Carol and Patty just went along with it. There are all elephants that are born to be followers and born to be leaders.
Now, of course, oh, hi! Now, obviously this trunk, long, unusual, probably one of the only animals that has a trunk. What really does that trunk do?
All right, so the trunk is very important for the elephant. It's their trunk, their nose, their hand. So the African actually has 2 fingers at the bottom of the trunk, and they can pick up a small dime up with those 2 fingers. The trunk is made of all muscles, so there's over 150,000 muscles in that trunk. A muscle just breaks into another muscle, and muscle fibers go all the way down, can expand and retract like an accordion, so very flexible. They do also use that trunk to drink their water. They'll pick up 1 gallon to 2 gallons of water into the trunk. They bring it up to their mouth, and they spray it into their mouth. With the trunk alone, they can lift 300 to 500 pounds. If they use their ivory, their tusk, anywhere up to 1,000 pounds. So very, very strong. So when you look at Carol, you can see a lot of the big differences. So a lot smaller ears, total different backbone, total different skin. Carol has 2 big humps on the top of her head. Lou has more of a round head. The Asian elephant is actually more related to the woolly mammoth than they are to the African elephant. So just completely different species. If you look at the front of her face and on her ears, there's a lot of freckles. So those freckles are called depigmentation. It's a characteristic of the mainland Asian elephant. So there are 4 different subspecies for the Asian elephant, and one of the ways you can tell them apart is which ones have the freckles. For the African elephant, there's actually 2 total separate species. The forest African elephant, and like Lou, the savanna African elephant.
Now, are there any of their habits that are similar, or are they really totally different?
So they do have a lot of the similar behaviors. They grow up in a similar herd structure, so they can get along. Even though Carol and Patty are 10 years older than Lou, they know Lou's in her prime, very strong, very intelligent, so they don't mind taking orders from Lou. So this is Patty. Patty is 47 years old. She's also an Asian elephant. Patty, you can tell there's a lot different body type. So Patty has a lot longer legs, thinner build. So not all elephants are the same. All elephants have their own body type, their own personalities. The elephant is a keystone species. Really that means they have a big influence on the natural habitat. So there is some truth to the elephants creating the savanna. They go through the savanna, take any trees, any big, they actually sculpt the landscape. So they'll go through with their tusk, they peel the bark off the trees, they eat the bark, they eat the branches, and it really creates a grassland for the other animals. They also dig holes with their tusk to get water. So they'll first drink their water, and other animals can come drink the water also. Also their poop. Their poop is excellent for germinating different seeds and spreading it out. Elephants walk for miles and miles each day, so they are really good at moving seeds around. All right, so we have partnered with the International Elephant Foundation, really devoting a portion of our proceeds to go directly to them. And right now we're working on building anti-poaching ranger stations in Uganda, and also a couple projects with the Sumatran Asian elephant. So we're real excited about that partnership. Hopefully it makes a bit of a difference. Unfortunately, if there's not a big change, the elephant will not make it another 30, 40 years. There won't be elephants for generations.
So we have to get going and
Yes,
save these guys, right?
We do have to be inspired to make a difference and really care about the elephant conservation.
We'll be right back. We hope you had fun and learned a thing or two along the way. We'll be back here again next week with some more animals and even more adventure. Until then, thanks for watching.
Right there on the tips of the feet.
Marsha, don't put her on me.
Here, I can probably get you to go this way.
Okay.